She was standing right in my living room, holding my mail like it was hers. That was the first thing I saw when I came home that Saturday afternoon. I'd just finished a long shift at the station, still in my plain clothes, when the door creaked open and I caught a glimpse of her blonde bob and that smug smirk. "You can't just barge into my house like this," I said, stepping inside slowly. Karen turned around like she owned the place. "Excuse me, this house violates HOA standards. I'm just checking for unauthorized modifications." Her tone was sharp, confident, like she thought she was the law around here. The problem? I am the law, but she didn't know that yet. My living room was a mess. She'd gone through my mail, even snapped pictures of the furniture. "You installed this fence without approval," she said, pointing at a stack of permits I hadn't even opened yet. "You'll have to pay a fine." I kept calm, even though my blood was boiling. "Karen," I said quietly, "you do realize you're trespassing." She laughed. "Oh, please, don't start with that. The HOA has authority over all properties in this community." She pulled out a fake clipboard like it was some kind of badge. I almost smiled at the irony. Then came the twist. She raised her phone and said, "I'm calling security. You'll regret talking to me like this." I took one step closer, voice low. "Go ahead. Call whoever you want." Her smirk faded a little when she noticed the radio on my belt and the badge on my wallet sitting on the kitchen counter. She froze, blinking rapidly. "Wait, I'm Deputy Sheriff, ma'am, and right now you're inside." Karen's face turned pale as she backed toward the door, clutching that stupid clipboard like it could protect her. "You can't do this! The HOA will have your badge!" she shouted, but her voice cracked halfway through. I didn't move. I just stared at her, calm, steady, the way I did with suspects who didn't yet realize how deep they were in trouble. "You broke into a law enforcement officer's home," I said slowly, letting every word hang in the air. "You touched private mail, took pictures, and threatened me with fake authority." She started shaking her head fast. No, I didn't break in. Your door was unlocked. That's not a crime." I almost laughed. Actually, it is when your intent is to intimidate or interfere with someone's property rights. I tapped the small red light on my vest, and that's all recorded. Her eyes darted around the room like she was looking for a way out, but the sound of a police cruiser pulling up outside told her there wasn't one. "Wait, you actually called backup?" she gasped. I shrugged. Didn't have to. They track all active cams automatically. The front door swung open and Officer Miller stepped in, hand on his holster. "Everything okay here, Sheriff?" Karen's jaw dropped. "Sheriff?" Miller looked at her clipboard, then at me. "Is this the lady who's been filing all those fake HOA complaints?" I nodded once. "Caught her red-handed in my house." Karen tried to speak, but Miller had already started reading her rights. The whole moment was surreal. Her face went from red to ghost white. She looked small now. Nothing like the loud woman who had once shouted at kids for riding their bikes too close to her lawn. "Please," she begged. "This is a misunderstanding. The HOA told me to do it." I folded my arms. Then I guess they'll have to answer for it too. And as she was let out in handcuffs, the neighbors started gathering outside, phones out, recording. That night, I sat at my kitchen table, replaying the footage from my body cam. Every word, every second of her trespassing was recorded. Still, something about what she said, "The HOA told me to do it," kept echoing in my head. No HOA orders someone to break into a house, not unless they're hiding something. I logged into the county record system, the same one I'd used 1,000 times on the job. A few searches later, I found something strange. The HOA had filed a maintenance inspection report on my property 2 weeks before I even moved in. It was signed by a man named Brad Cole, the HOA president, who also happened to have 2 prior citations for falsifying documents. I leaned back, exhaling. So that's how far this goes. The next morning, as I stepped outside, a few neighbors were already whispering across the street. They'd all seen the video.
Someone had uploaded the arrest to the community Facebook group. "Sheriff takes down HOA Karen" was trending in our small town. But not everyone was happy. A black SUV pulled up right as I was locking my truck. Brad stepped out, his fake smile plastered on. "Morning, officer," he said, stretching the title like it had a bad taste. "We had quite an incident yesterday." "Sure did," I replied. "Your HOA rep broke into my home." He didn't flinch. "Karen acted outside protocol. We'll handle her internally." I raised a brow. "Internally? She committed a felony, Brad. That's not something you handle internally." His jaw tightened. "Let's not make this a big deal, Sheriff. After all, we both know how messy things can get when legal people start digging." That was it, the threat. Subtle but clear. He turned to leave, but I stopped him. "You might want to stay close to your phone today," I said. "Why's that?" he asked, smirking. "Because the county is about to audit."
Over the next few days, the truth started unraveling faster than anyone expected. The county audit I requested exposed everything: fake maintenance reports, forged complaint letters, even illegal fines that the HOA had been collecting from homeowners for years. Brad had built a small empire of control, hiding behind paperwork and intimidation. And Karen, she was just one of his pawns. When the news broke, the neighborhood turned upside down. People who had been scared to speak suddenly came forward. Veterans, single moms, retirees, they all shared the same story: threats, fake citations, and inspection visits that felt more like harassment. My footage of Karen's break-in became the final piece that tied it all together. A week later, I stood outside my house as the sheriff's department raided the HOA office. Karen, already on bail, stood behind the yellow tape, shaking as Brad was let out in cuffs. He tried to glare at me, but I didn't blink. "Guess internal handling didn't work out, huh?" I said quietly. Brad just spat on the ground. "You ruined everything." "No," I said. "You did." When it was over, neighbors started walking up to me, people who had never even waved before. One older man shook my hand and said, "It's been a long time since anyone stood up to them. Thank you." I nodded, looking around the peaceful street that had once been full of tension. Kids were riding bikes again, people were smiling, the neighborhood finally felt free. Karen eventually took a plea deal and turned in every piece of evidence against Brad. She even sent me an apology letter, handwritten, shaky, but real. I didn't respond. Some lessons you have to learn the hard way. That night, as I sat on my porch watching the sunset, I felt that quiet satisfaction only a cop understands. Not from revenge, but from justice. I glanced at the gate she'd once tried to inspect and smiled. I didn't wear this badge to scare people. I wear it to protect what's right: my home, my peace, my land. For the first time in months, the neighborhood was silent. No fake notices, no threats, just freedom. And that's the kind of order even the HOA couldn't touch.